No, we're not yet. No.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. Welcome to episode number 2 of Untangling Societal Norms, a reminder that well behaved women rarely live their best lives. Today, we are talking about bias busters, debunking the myths, and owning our own voice, but more importantly, really honing in on this thing called imposter syndrome. I can't wait to get in today's topic of conversation because this is something that I have struggled with personally. And I know many, many women also struggle with it. And we've received a lot of questions and feedback about it. But I'm Sarah Zagilla. I'm so excited to be here again today. This has been so much fun doing this with you, Lillian, and we really enjoyed episode 1. If you missed it last time, please reach out to us. We're happy to share that link and get it to you. But just a quick tidbit about who I am. I've been working with Lillian for now almost 2+ years. I reached out to her because I was struggling. I was on the struggle bus, if you will, not really living my best life. And we got partnered together and we've worked through a lot of different strategies, tips, and techniques to help further grow my career and then also just kind of work through some issues that I was having before. So Lillian, why don't you take it away? Share a little bit about you, please.
Yes. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you are. Good night. Some people get up in the middle of the night for this. This is exciting. Throw in your chat, your comments in the chat here, and let us know where you're calling from, where you're listening from, rather. And it would be great to just connect on that level and see where all parts of the world are listening. I know people in South Africa are listening, so that's really cool. So my name is Lillian DeFries, and I am really excited to be doing this with Sarah. As Sarah said, we met 2+ years ago, and coaching through the process. My specialty is really about coaching unstoppable women, which, boy, Sarah is an unstoppable woman, but not struggling alone. So really getting the partnership and the support that we need, all humans need, but women specifically need, to get through these societal norms that hold us back, and these beliefs and all those things that hold us back from being authentic and who we really are. And as we said here, it holds us back from rarely living our best lives. And we don't even know what that means until we dive in and take risks, right? So that's the exciting part. Imposter syndrome. Yes, I'm excited to talk more about that and dig deep. I have a perspective on imposter syndrome, and we'll get into that in a moment.
Yeah.
But so Sarah.
Let's talk about it, right? So to me, imposter syndrome is this chronic feeling of self-doubt or feeling inadequate or that I'm not good enough or I don't belong where I'm supposed to be, and this like internalization of just feeling not good enough. And I have felt that numerous times in my life. And so it was really hard for me to own my voice. And I think you've been really instrumental in helping me identify my voice and kind of live my truth out loud. So thank you for that, Lillian. But
Mhm.
um, just to be completely honest and vulnerable, I can share a couple of my instances, but maybe we should give the formal definition, Lillian. And I think you have that prepared to kind of share with everybody. What
Yeah,
is that formal definition so that everybody understands and identifies what?
right. So the formal definition is individuals doubt their accomplishments
Yeah.
and have persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud. I hear that a lot. With my clients, I hear that quite a bit, despite evident success and external recognition. And it can lead to chronic self doubt, feelings of inadequacy, and an inability to internalize success. And, this different studies have shown up to 66%, 75% of women experience this. What I do want to do is tie it into what it means as far as societal norms in simplified in a simplified words, I guess. Really, the imposter syndrome, which is a label, and I really dislike labels because we get stuck on a label. It's almost like a tattoo that's put on our forehead. It says, "This is who I am, an imposter." But the societal norm is the expectation of perfectionism.
Mhm.
So, why do we, as human beings, but in this case, we're talking about women, why do we as women think that we need to have everything perfect?
Mhm.
And part of what I've learned from that is especially having worked with nurses a lot, there's this thing about control. We need to have control. And so everything must be perfect. I must have my ducks in a row as a mother. I must have my ducks in a row as a, as a professional woman. I must be this and that for my husband or my, my partner, my wife, whatever. It's like everything needs to be in order for nothing to crumble and nothing to fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And I have a little story that goes with that. I think back at my years when I was teaching in college. I was teaching leadership, and there were 35 people in the class or something like that. And it was my very first class that I was teaching. And I came in and I was talking about the great leaders, and I used some men, and I used, Mother Teresa, women, all different leaders. And I didn't use Mother Teresa at the time. For some reason, I used a lot of Black males. For some reason, I didn't realize that I had done that. And then somebody put their hand up at the end and said, and it was a mixed woman. She had Black, white mixed in her, and she said, I really think that these leaders were great leaders because they were Black and had to prove themselves so much more. And so I sat back and I thought, we use that as a crutch because I'm Black, because I'm a woman in this case, as we're talking about societal norms,
Yeah.
because I'm gay, because I'm overweight, all these things that we must prove ourselves so much more and we must make it even more perfect.
Mm.
And what I did was I came back to her in front of the class and I said, when I came in here today as a plus size woman, I was bigger than I am today. I was a plus size woman, and I said, I could have dragged all my luggage in and said, I have to work twice as hard to prove as a plus size woman that I knew what I was doing. But
Yeah.
I left my luggage at home. And I think all these leaders left their luggage at home. And I think this is my invitation right now at the beginning of this call to say, you need to check in your bags, leave all that stuff out of your life now, and start moving forward with the perfection that you are with all its flaws.
Yeah. I know it's so much easier said than done, though, Lillian. You know what I mean? Because there is a lot of societal pressure on norms of, or for women especially, to be a certain way, to act a certain way, to look a certain way, to talk a certain way, to command a room in a certain way. And so it's really hard to like break free from those chains at times. And I can identify probably 3 major situations throughout my lifetime where I was faced with that type of pressure. First time around was when I started as a program facilitator for a nonprofit organization. And I was replacing the vice president of the organization at that time. And she was there for 20 something years. She was known as this incredible woman. And here I was lacking the experience in front of a classroom, didn't know the curriculum like she did. And I had convinced myself almost, why do I even deserve to be in this classroom? And why do I deserve to be in front of these mentors and these students? And I struggled with nerves. I struggled with preparing my facilitations. I mean, I would rehearse constantly for hours and hours and hours. I would set up stuffed animals on my couches. I would make my wife sit there and listen. I would set up props, and I would be exhausted because I was trying so hard to be someone else, not even just being myself.
Mm.
And then secondly, when I really started to get into the HR consulting world, I struggled with that as well. What do these leaders have to learn from me? What type of, suggestions or guidance could I possibly give them? I was fairly inexperienced, but I had a master's degree. And even having a master's degree in training and development and experience since I was working at 14 and a half years old, I was always second guessing myself that I wasn't good enough. And it took some time to realize that I could have agency and that people were listening to me and they did trust my opinion and they did value who I was. And even most recently, I did it similarly when I was becoming a Zumba instructor. I was nervous about how I was going to be perceived in the studio. I was nervous about getting the moves right. I was nervous about how people would respond to me. So, it is something that you kind of evolve through, but it is something that's really hard to break free from. And I'm sure there's a lot of women out there who are struggling with this. So, let's talk about some of the things we've done together, Lillian, to kind of
Yeah.
help navigate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think what you're pointing to as I'm listening to you, and the growth that I've seen you go through in the last couple of years is just fascinating. It's that place of trusting yourself, but that comes from a belief. Where does that belief come from? So we need to dig in as to, why do I think I need to be, you know, whoever, that role model that we think we are, and what's the truth? What do I have to offer? And sometimes some of the exercises that we've done, or I've given with my clients, has been, we need to start looking at ourselves and holding ourselves high. We need our support system, but we also need that to come directly from ourselves. So there are things that, for example, I call it uh, the 50. Oh, there's a name for it and I've lost it. But anyway, it's the 50 things that the 50 qualities. That's what it is. So I have people send out emails to their friends, text messages, whatever you want to do, family, friends, coworkers, and say, what are 3 to 5 things that you see a quality in me? And then they gather this and they add theirs, and they put those things back on pieces of paper. So, somebody might say, you're funny, you're gregarious, you're strong, you're courageous, you're all these things that was my job as your coach, Sarah, to just to acknowledge and to hold you high on a pedestal, right?
Yeah.
But it's also your job to do that for yourself. So what you do is you put these words on pieces of paper, throw them in a jar, and every day you pull one out and say, oh, my word today is courageous. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I have to, I'm traveling today at the airport, and I'm not sure if they heard, or I'm on standby. Do they remember that I'm on standby or whatever? So I'm going to take the courage to stand up and go ask the question. I'm not going to feel like I'm bothering them, or, am I being that aggressive woman that I shouldn't be, or whatever. I'm just going to go and use my courage. So you practice these qualities that others see in you and you see in yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
You've
yeah,
you've also been really helpful in helping me identify the small little wins and the small little celebrations of progress that I have made over the last couple of years, right?
very true.
So it was like, that's why this sign is behind me in my office daily. I've got my little tassel from Oakland University, where I graduated from, as a reminder, like, heck yeah, I put myself through grad school. I went back to school much later in life. Gosh, if my friend Angela is on the line right now, she's doing the same thing. She's a mom of 2. She's going back to school to get her bachelor's degree. Like, heck yeah, girl. I am so proud of you, and such a hard feat to do. And I hope you're celebrating those wins and that you're taking the time for yourself. But it's really celebrating the small little wins and the progress that you've made. And you've really helped me do that, from me quitting smoking to getting my health on track to kind of unpacking some emotional damage and trauma that I've been through to, attempting to go be a Zumba instructor. And now I've just landed my first gig at a studio out near my office, which I'm so excited about. And those are the little things that have really helped me evolve as a human, by celebrating those wins, appreciating the gift in every situation. Even if I do fail and it sucks, because failure for me is really, really hard, and I take it very, very personal. But really, now looking back, that's when some of my greatest moments of shining, or like to be able to shine, have really come through. So
Yeah.
anybody out there, just know that you got to celebrate your wins. You got to like
Yes.
give yourself the confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, and celebrating the wins looks a bit like this. When I first started doing that for myself, I would put it in my agenda. And then I realized, right, well, hang on a second. I had 10 wins yesterday and I've only got 3 right now. What's going on today? And I thought, no, I can't be comparing myself to myself on a daily basis. So I got this book and I just create these little circles and say, drank a liter of water. I just put 1 liter of water. That's all
Yeah.
I need to put in there. Or, um, took a breath when I spoke to Sarah and she said something that triggered me or whatever, right? And, like these little things that those are the little wins. They matter so much. What I think you also pointed to, Sarah, is you didn't overnight get up and do all this.
Mm-mm.
You
No.
progressively did the little things that mattered today. What is it I can do today?
No,
That's
I
all
mean,
I need to know.
exactly. I mean, this is progress of years in the making, quite honestly.
Yes.
It took some significant loss in my life that made me kind of like shake up a little bit and say, "Whoa, what am I doing? What is happening? And where am I going?" So if those moments didn't happen, I don't know if I would be here today. I'm not exactly sure. So although we have a lot of struggle and strife, and there are these societal norms that kind of hold us down sometimes, anything is possible, and I'm here as living proof, really, to kind of share that with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I put in the chat here. Yeah, I see that Angela, Amy, and Althea are here right now.
Oh
What's a small win that you've had today? Like what's a little thing? Think about it, Sarah. I mean, I'm seeing you also at midnight writing your TED talk. Like how committed is that?
it is it is a goal, and it is something that I will not stop at. And I attempted this, 2 years ago when we first started working together, and it was nowhere near where it needed to be. It had a lot of work to do. And I did. I was up at 12:30 this morning still recording it. I shared it with my boss, and I'm asking for feedback, and just realizing it's 2 years in the making, and I had to go through some of these like processes and things to really get there. I'm really kind of proud of it, and I can't wait to share it with the world, and hopefully
Mm,
I can end up on that TEDx stage one of these days. But
yeah.
let's see what it looks like. Angela said, "I took the time to do something for myself by attending this." And I'm so proud of you, Ange. I
Yeah.
really, really am. I've known Angela for a really, really, really long time. We've known each other since middle school. And she's a
Uh-huh.
dynamic human being. And I'm so proud of her. So proud of
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
Oh, good stories we could hear right now, couldn't we?
Oh, oh boy. I think we were talking today about how you're from Canada and I'm from the US, and that it's not very far for us to hop on over to the tunnel or to get over the Blue Water Bridge. But oof, we were heading on over to Canada doing things that we shouldn't have done when we were
Breaking the law on the Canadian land. Okay, I got you. That's all good. That's all good. But look at the progress where you've come from. Again, you go back to the progress, not perfection, right? It's it's celebrating again those wins, and it's important to go back in our life, even in our childhood. The courage it took for you know me, for example, getting up and performing for my parents and their friends on stage, singing and dancing or whatever, at whatever age, at 5 years old. I mean, those are wins. We can't just take them for granted,
Yeah.
and we need to remind ourselves of that.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful exercise that I have my clients do too, that's around it's an exercise that was given to me by Lisa Nichols. If anybody knows Lisa Nichols, a speaker and coach. And it's an exercise that you do in the mirror every day. And she did this for quite a long time. But you start off by saying, you look in the mirror and you say, Lillian, I am proud of you for whatever, right? And you give 5 things. So I'm proud of you for showing up at this mirror this morning, right? Lillian, I'm proud of you for whatever, getting to this point with a client to run a series, whatever, right? So you just keep doing those, and again, those are the wins, right? So
Yeah.
5 things I'm proud of you for. The second one is what I forgive you for.
Mm.
Now, forgiveness to me, my definition of forgiveness is if I knew better, or if that person knew better at that moment, at that time, they would have done differently.
Yeah.
So when somebody says something nasty to me, I think something in them has brought them to this place, or the circumstances right now today where they are, or whatever. If they knew better, they would have not have said what they said.
Yeah.
And what's the expression? if you knew what you knew today, you would have done differently before. It's
Yeah.
that, yeah, there's an expression. But anyway,
Maya Angelou says, if you know better, do better, right? So it's like
right,
kind of
right.
learning from that. Yeah.
But we don't know those things. So forgiveness is really important. So 5 things I forgive myself for. And in that place, it's also I forgive myself for having, stolen Johnny's pencil when I was 7, those things. But the point is that, why I didn't steal Johnny's pencil, but if that story of me stealing Johnny's pencil has been dragging along for this many years in my head, I need to forgive myself for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the third piece is what I commit to. And there are 5 things. What do I commit to? I commit to showing up tomorrow morning in the mirror again. I commit to catching myself when I judge myself,
Yeah.
right? Etc. Those kinds of things. So that's a really, really good exercise. I would highly suggest
Yeah.
that everybody try.
I think forgiveness for me was a really big part of how I was able to find my voice. Um, for some reason, just in the way that I grew up, or, just some things that had happened to me, for some reason, I just didn't think that I was good enough. I didn't think that I deserved anything that was coming my way or that I was working for. Or I had just really kind of talked myself out of any level of success that I had made on my own.
Mm,
Um, and that was like a really, really hard, horrible struggle for me. Um,
mm,
but like with your help, with the support of a lot of friends and family, with really kind of taking pause, doing some self-reflection, educating myself, just kind of owning who I am and trying new things. That I
mm.
think that's the key. That is the try the thing that scares the hell out of you. You got to. And so if I could just talk about Zumba again, because it's just so prevalent and recent in my life, I was that Zumba wallflower. I was kind of tucked in the back corner, trying to get the moves right, so fearful and afraid. Like, was I in sync and in flow with everybody, and just wanted to go kind of be tucked away in the corner, do my own thing, exercise the ick out, and get the heck out. But then I started to really fall in love with it. And then it was like about the music, and it was about the passion, and it was more about feeling alive than it was anything. And I kind of started inching my way up to the front of the room. And then the instructor was like, "Hey, why don't you join me?" And I was like, "Whoa, absolutely not." Nope. The buck stops here. And then it was just a little bit of encouragement to try to get me to do something I wasn't ready for. And finally, after some badgering, so to speak, I got up on stage. I was able to let go of all of the stuff that was just kind of hanging on me, wearing on me, and I allowed myself to be free, just free. Like, I
Yeah.
just listened to the music. I danced to the choreography. I watched the crowd in front of me just kind of smile and be in the moment with me. And it was really, truly one of the most liberating and awesome moments of my whole entire life. I even
Uh-huh.
got myself a necklace that says "Dance Like Nobody's Watching," just to
Yep.
remind me of what that feeling felt like.
Yeah.
And I tell myself daily now that I need to feel that feeling as much as I possibly can every single day. So it's a reminder to me to try stuff that's hard, to do the stuff that maybe you're really kind of freaked out about, and that
Hmm.
you can do it, and it's okay to fail. And it's all about how you dust yourself off and you get back up and you try it again.
Yeah, and so that's the debunking the myths about, that I need to be perfect, that I need to be whatever, right? Those are the busters that you've basically worked on. And then I see you and I know because I've been an instructor myself. I was teaching fitness to plus size women. So you can imagine that's, well, because you've been there in your own way. But that's where we're owning our voice. And
Yeah.
it may not be a voice that comes out as a sound. A voice can be an action. When I move into something and I like moving my body on the floor, on the in a Zumba class or in a fitness class, whatever it is, that's a part of expressing myself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's owning your voice in a different way to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm just looking at some of the comments here.
Yeah.
Sally says, I need to recognize wins as wins. I get so wrapped up in everything I do daily. I stop remembering that those things are actually significant and deserve praise, even if that praise is from myself.
Ooh, yeah,
Oh,
Sally.
especially if that praise is from myself, I would even
Yeah.
say, Sally. That's really important.
Mhm.
Um, and she says also, I don't realize my success until I'm telling someone else my story and seeing their reaction. Interesting.
Mm,
Interesting.
yeah.
So yeah. So how do you go to the place of success, Sarah, to recognize your success without having to tell your story? Mind you, you've been working on this. You've been working on your TED Talk. You've been working on, even
Yeah.
this series here we're coming on and voicing. How do you start to realize your success for yourself and not necessarily because someone else sees it?
Most recently, it's been in coaching others.
Mm,
Um, so
mm,
I have a new protege at work that, a young lady who has nothing but the greatest potential. And I see a little bit of myself in her a tad. And I find myself coaching from a different place, educating from a different place. And to me, that's success. When I've reached this kind of like coach, guide, and like advisor, so to speak, and I can see the light bulb kind of go off in her a tad, that's how I know it's success. Or when I'm working with high school kids, most recently, one of my students that I've been working with from the 10th grade who graduated high school as valedictorian from a very um, poor high school in Detroit, Michigan. I ended up getting a full ride scholarship to U of M of all schools, and also now is in Japan for the first time. Never been on an airplane, never traveled outside of country, and is living their best life. So to me, that's success. If I can make positive impact with the leaders and the people I work with every single day,
yeah,
in my day job, and then also help kids or just make a positive impact to my nieces or to whomever, that to me is success.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and feeling
That's
it right in your
not always
body.
seeing it in them, but like now that I feel confident in being able to share my knowledge, I think that's how I know that I've reached a certain level of success.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I've got to tell you, I've been coaching for 20 plus years, and I laugh at myself actually, and I think laughing at ourselves is really important. I laugh at myself because I will, in the old days it was more face to face, so I'd walk away from the room or whatever, or my client would leave, or nowadays it's the Zoom call, so you hang up from a Zoom call. I literally get up quite often, and I just go, yes. It's like it's
Yeah.
like this, yes, this was good. Like that person got something, and they're moving, and I just feel so good. And then I pace and I just go walking across the my home, and then I come back and I sit down for the next call. It's it's um it's embodying it. It's more than a thought because our
Yeah.
thoughts can be so
Yeah.
overpowering, judgmental.
Yeah.
It's really embodying that feeling.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
No,
Um,
that's a great point.
Yeah, Angela made a comment here. I don't know how to describe it because I asked, "How do you feel success when nobody else is around?"
Ah,
She said, "I don't know how to describe it, but it's just a feeling, the same way you can feel when you're failing." That's interesting.
yeah.
Uh,
Like a sense of I'm proud, but you almost like, I've caught myself sometimes like, "Ooh, should I be proud?" But yeah, we've got to own
yeah,
that feeling every once in a while, or all
big
the time, actually.
big time, big
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
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 absolutely, absolutely. I wanted to share one of the things when we were researching this, Sarah and I, we came upon Michelle Obama's
yeah.
experience with
Oh,
imposter syndrome,
ugh,
right?
love
And you
that
look at yeah, and you look at this woman and you think she's such a confident, sure woman, but
one.
she has her stuff too. Like we all have our stuff, right? In her memoir, Becoming, Michelle Obama candidly discusses her feelings of self doubt and imposter syndrome, particularly during her time at Princeton University and later as First Lady. Despite her academic achievements, which we think, oh, we got an achievement. This is who we are. No, it's not who we are. Um, and her professional success, she often questioned whether she was good enough. and felt the pressure to prove herself continuously.
Mm.
So, what did she do? Her coping mechanisms. Michelle Obama emphasizes the importance of hard work and perseverance. When I think of that, I'm like that unstoppable woman. My Sarah, that's exactly what I think of. In overcoming those feelings, she shares how she focused on her goals and relied on her strong support system, including her family and mentors. And we're going to talk about that next week about our support systems. Who are our support systems,
Yeah.
right? She also highlights the role of authenticity and staying true to oneself, which helped her navigate her responsibilities and public scrutiny. Um, yeah, and really the impact of her stories by openly discussing her experiences. This is what we are doing here today.
Yeah.
And Brene Brown talks about this. It's like, be vulnerable.
Yeah.
It really drives me crazy when I used to work a lot with, or still do, with nurse managers. You get these nurses all working in teams, then you get nurse managers or managers in any organization, right? And then all of a sudden you've got your office, you got a closed door, you're in your office and you think you're supposed to know it all. People come and ask you questions, you're supposed to know all the answers.
Mm.
And every single one of those managers, if they just connected together to support each other, would realize they're all feeling the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's okay to be vulnerable.
Yeah. Well, I had a really hard time with that. You remember, Lillian? It was really
Mhm.
hard for me. It was hard for me to admit that I was a proud gay woman. For a long time, I would say that my spouse's name was Heath instead of Heather because I was afraid of how that would be interpreted by other people. When
Yeah.
people would ask me about my spouse, I would try to avoid it in any type of conversation.
Yeah.
When I was nervous about telling people that I was quitting smoking. I was nervous about telling people a lot of different things because I was so afraid that I wouldn't live up to this image. But when I started to kind of own those stories, own, my struggles, and just kind of share how I've overcome some of those obstacles, it was just easier and it felt more free. And I didn't have to cover up. I didn't have to mask. I didn't have to hide. I could be who I am. And this is allowing me to be who I am. And it's just a good feeling. It's a good feeling. And I hope some of these ladies who are joining us today feel a little bit more empowered to own their story, own their voice, know that they're perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. And, show up in the best way that you can. Try, and try. You're not always going to get it right. You might fall. You might really hurt yourself sometimes, but take pride in those valued lessons, and just keep on going. Just keep
Hmm.
on going. And
Hmm.
we're here for you. We're here for you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that leads into holding, we want to hold ourselves in a place where we don't need to be, perfect. Well, really have struggled with that word because I mean, what is perfect, right? Because perfect to me has its flaws. But I think it's really important as women that we hold each other
Yeah.
that way as well. When somebody, maybe even somebody that we don't like,
Yeah.
messes up, instead of sitting there and going, you see, she's this and that, and she messed up again. It's
Yeah.
more about asking, are you okay? Do you need some support? What can I do for you?
Yeah.
And or laugh and say, that's nothing. I've been there too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we need to be for others what we want for ourselves.
I agree. And women struggle with this, and I've seen it my whole entire life where it's almost kind of like they're hoping that someone else fails for them because I've just seen it way too many times.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we definitely need to build each other up, and that whole idea of adjusting the crown and, all of that, like that is legit. Let's support each other. Let's help each other. Let's encourage one another. Let's support and love each other. Gosh, why
Mm,
can't we do that? I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and how we see ourselves. I remember kind of, I don't know, this is a little off topic, but I remember this one coach. He was leading a group, and many women in the as an audience. And I asked him what his niche was, and he said, "I only coach beautiful women."
Oh,
What, you see the reaction? Okay, you see
oh,
the reaction.
yeah.
Everybody kind of went, "What? What?" And he said, "Yeah, well, do you not think you're beautiful?"
Ah.
I spun it around and I just went,
Ah.
wow, that was good. That was really good.
I love
Because
it. Yeah.
because that was the piece of thinking we were the ones who didn't think we were beautiful enough for him,
Mm,
right? To coach us. That was a really a moment of eye opener, that
yeah.
said, what did I think of myself that put me there? He didn't make me feel that way.
Right.
I went right there.
Mm,
Or it's our past that we think how we've been treated in our society that
yeah.
makes us think immediately that this guy is somebody who doesn't think all women are beautiful.
Right.
So we perceive things a certain way,
Yeah.
right? And
Uh,
we have to question, we have to stop and say, what was that first reaction in me? What was that?
mm,
Where is that about me, not about that person?
no. Oh, that's an excellent reminder. Ooh,
That was-
what a great way to wrap up 35 minutes of an awesome conversation about imposter syndrome. I would love to kind of leave it open at this point. Does anybody have any particular question or want to share a story, make a comment? Is there anything that you want to know before we kind of wrap up today's session?
yeah. What questions do you have out there?
Put it in the chat.
Um,
Just it's okay. Share whatever it is that you'd like.
Yeah, this is
Hope
this
it's
is
helpful.
one day we'll have our show. My dream is to have the show where we can have interaction, like a Zoom call where everybody gets involved, right?
I would love
That's always best than the chat, but yeah, let's go for that. Yeah, here's the thing as a reminder, as we're waiting for you guys to jump in and make some comments or ask questions. Setting realistic goals and expectations. The only way we can be disappointed is if our expectations are too high, right? So, what are we expecting of ourselves? When even in voicing, when I own my voice and I start to speak about something, what am I expecting? Am I expecting somebody to judge me right away, or do I feel confident enough to say I'm saying this and my intention is this, and I'm okay with whatever comes back, because whatever comes back is not about me.
Yeah.
Don Miguel Ruiz wrote a book called The Four Agreements, for those who haven't
Mhm.
read that.
Yes. Ooh, wee, that's a
Yeah.
good book.
The
Yep.
four agreements, and one of the agreements is don't take things personally. As a matter of fact, he even says what somebody else thinks about you is none of your business,
Mm.
because
Yep.
it's not about you. I mean,
No.
unless you're impacting something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that comes with a a grain of salt there, to how we want to interpret that. But it's that place of, how do I feel about myself?
Yeah.
So let me ask the audience here. What would you do differently in the next week or so if you could trust your own voice and put aside what you assume others might be thinking?
Mm. I'm
What would you do differently? What would you risk with your children, with your partners, with your coworkers, with somebody who might come in and look after your parents at home? Like, I have a caregiver here that I had to raise my voice for, um, for my mom. They're like, what is it that you would dare to do differently this week if you could take away those assumptions, those myths, those beliefs, and challenge
Mm.
yourself? That's a deep thought.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. Over
Sure.
the next week, I'm going to figure out any way I can to get myself recorded performing my talk, and I'm going to make sure that application, that video gets to whomever it needs to, so that I can be on the TEDx stage this fall. That is my dream. That is my commitment. That is my goal. So I'm going to do anything I can to make that happen this week. That's what I'm going to do. I don't care who likes it, who doesn't like it. I like it, and I'm going to make sure that I get it recorded, and then I'm going to apply for that stage. Yeah, that's
Yes.
what I'm going to do. Yeah,
I've got tears in my eyes because I'm just looking at the unstoppable woman that says, I don't care, I'm doing this, And that's exactly, what's her name? Rowling, that wrote the Harry Potter book.
that's right. Yeah.
12 people who turned her down for publishing. And she said, no, I'm unstoppable. I am going to go and do it. And, it doesn't matter what you think. I know somebody else thinks like me. And look what happened.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's where she turned her challenge into an opportunity.
Yes. All right.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah, I'd love to hear you guys. I know you're probably in the back of your heads thinking, what am I going to do? You know what? This episode's going up, it's recorded. Please go back and add some comments about some wins, some comments about what you've noticed from this talk, how you can overcome certain things for yourself because of these two episodes that you've heard already. Please, please, please share, because it's important. Some people are listening to the recordings after and want to hear your voices.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about. We need to come together and share.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it doesn't look that maybe not right now, or maybe we're not feeling too comfortable in sharing, but this is how we're going to wrap up today's session. Thank you so much for joining us. Please, 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 if you have a friend, a sister, a coworker, oh, look, we got something. I'm wearing a bikini on the 4th of July. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Rock it out, sister. Oh my goodness.
I noticed where Angela actually put in the word silly after, but like there was this little moment of judgment, right?
Oh my
But
God.
she's doing it. I want pictures.
And she's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful.
Okay, so yeah.
Well, Ange, I'm going to hold you to that. I can't wait to see a picture on Facebook of you rocking out your bikini on the 4th of July. So I can't wait. But please, if you can, invite a friend, a family member, a woman who might be struggling that you know, and maybe just needs a little bit of nudge, like a little bit of support, a little bit of guidance. Let's build a community of trust and friendship and resources to help lift us up. Feel free to send us any type of questions that you have for the upcoming sessions. And also, you got to remember that if you're looking to have either Lillian or I come and speak or do a talk to a women's group, to a professional organization, to a company that you are a part of, we are happy to do that. You can enter into a drawing of a $5,000 value for each of us. So that is something we are offering as participating in this series. Anything else you want to add, Lillian?
Yeah, and if you don't have the opportunity to have us speak somewhere, go and find a group of people that, a women's group you might belong to or something, and say, listen, I've got this opportunity to win this. I'm going to go in the draw and maybe donate it. This is the pay forward. Donate it to an organization who could use somebody like myself or Sarah to come in and talk. So yeah, don't waste this. This is energy that's going out in the world. So
Absolutely.
we're so looking forward for you to register. So actually, our assistant Hake is going to put in the chat our email addresses and the registration for this draw. Yeah, and just go from there.
Perfect.
Anything else that we need to? But I think this has been great. This has been
Yeah,
great.
this is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so far we've talked about kind of owning our story, owning our voice, breaking through that imposter syndrome, right? And then our previous session was really about identifying our values, knowing what our strengths are, and really embracing who we are and aligning our passions and our mission all together with that. So please join us next week, Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please contact us with any questions, any thoughts, any feedback. We're all open to it. But I've enjoyed the conversation, Lillian, as always. Thank you for being my partner in crime.
Yes.
And I hope you have all a wonderful Friday.
Yes. And join us next week for Sisterhood is Powerful, the Value of My Tribe.
Yes.
Looking forward to it. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, guys.